Cam Newton went from a JUCO reset button to the face of football's most violent innovation. An MVP quarterback who ran like a power back, then watched the exact thing that made him special get slowly taken away by injuries, roster decay, and a league that stopped letting quarterbacks play that way for free. The rise starts with how messy his route was. Newton didn't take the clean, straight-line path that people use when they tell quarterback stories. By the time he landed at Auburn in 2010, he wasn't just talented, he was urgent. That one season is still one of the most extreme one-year takeovers college football has ever seen. A 14-0 national championship run, 2,154 passing yards and 30 passing touchdowns, plus 1,473 rushing yards and 20 rushing touchdowns. That wasn't a dual threat season. That was a quarterback functioning like an entire offense. Carolina drafted him first overall in 2011 and got proof immediately that the NFL labels were too small. In his very first NFL game, September 11, 2011 at Arizona, Newton threw for 422 yards, an NFL record for passing yards in a quarterback's debut. The important part wasn't the record, it was the message. The idea that you could simply make him a pocket passer wasn't a plan yet, because Newton was already a pocket passer when he had time, and he was a catastrophe when he didn't. The first mistake defenses made was treating him like a gimmick and assuming the solution would arrive automatically. Hit him enough times, force him to be perfect from the pocket, and the style will collapse. Carolina's fix was the thing that made Newton terrifying at his peak. Stop treating the quarterback run as an emergency exit and start treating it as the front door. Read option looks, designed power runs, goal line packages where the quarterback wasn't a decoy. He was the point. Newton wasn't scrambling for survival. Newton was the run game's most dangerous body. That approach hit full maturity in 2015, when Carolina turned Newton into something the league still struggles to categorize: a quarterback who could be the red zone finisher and the downfield creator at the same time. The Panthers went 15-1, and Newton led the league with 45 total touchdowns, 35 passing, and 10 rushing. The numbers are big, but the structure is the real story. If a defense played light to cover the pass, Newton punished the box with his legs. If a defense loaded up to stop the run, Newton attacked single high looks with vertical throws and deep crossers. If a defense tried to split the difference, Newton still had the body type to win short yardage like a tight end, and the arm to punish hesitation. This is where the Cam Newton story gets flattened into something too simple. People remember unstoppable and then gone, like it happened because the league figured him out. The more honest version is this: Newton's game was built on a specific physical baseline, and that baseline was expensive to maintain because the offense asked him to absorb collisions that most quarterbacks never have to budget for. The fall doesn't begin with one play, but there's a point when the punishment stops being abstract. It's not only sacks, it's designed carries, red zone hits, late whistles, and the constant reality that defenders were allowed to treat him like a runner the moment he became a runner. When the wear started accumulating, Newton described what it does to a quarterback's mind during a game. In 2019, while dealing with a foot injury, he admitted he was playing guarded. You're trying to guard your foot, and for so long, I played this game one way, and at this particular time, that number one that's out there, that hasn't been that same person. That's not a motivation quote, that's a mechanics quote. That's a player explaining that his body is changing his decisions in real time. Then the foot injury arrived like a door slamming. Newton's 2019 season became a story about a Lisfranc injury, an injury that can turn plant and drive into pain and make explosive cuts feel impossible. He eventually had foot surgery, and the recovery dragged into the season in a way that made everything look harder and slower. A quarterback can survive a compromised shoulder for stretches by adjusting his game. A quarterback built on power running and explosive movement does not survive a compromised base without losing the very thing that makes defenses panic. Carolina's situation around him also shifted at exactly the wrong time. NFL rosters aren't permanent, and a quarterback whose superpower is physical dominance needs stability even more when the physical edge starts slipping. Protection that holds up, weapons that separate, an offense that isn't constantly behind the chains. When the baseline started dipping, Newton needed the ecosystem to get cleaner. The ecosystem got shakier. By spring 2020, Carolina's decision was final. Newton wasn't benched, he was released, and it was tied to cap math as much as football opinion. ESPN reported the move saved cap space and moved on from the $21.1 million cap charge Newton was set to carry into 2020. That's the cold part of the fall. Once the organization decides it's resetting, the story stops being about what you were and starts being about what you cost. New England was the most fascinating next chapter because it wasn't a simple, washed narrative. It was a case study in how thin the margin becomes when a quarterback's advantage is physical, and that physical edge is no longer guaranteed every week. Newton signed with the Patriots on a one-year deal with incentives, and Bill Belichick publicly praised the work ethic. Nobody works harder than Cam does. The bet made sense on both sides. Belichick was betting on a former MVP's floor. Newton was betting that the most stable organization in football could help him reinvent himself. The contrarian truth is that New England didn't prove Newton couldn't play. It proved something sharper. If Cam Newton can't be Cam Newton physically, then the passing environment has to be elite to compensate, because the quarterback job becomes a different job. The old version of Newton could create explosives with his legs when the offense stalled. The compromised version had to create explosives with timing, separation, and structure. In 2020, that roster was transitioning, and the league's margin for error at quarterback is ruthless. Then came the moment that made the fall feel official to casual fans because it arrived with theater. November 2021, Newton returns to Carolina. In his first game back, he scored on his first 2 plays, a short rushing touchdown and a short touchdown pass, and cameras caught him on the sideline yelling, "I'm back." It was the exact kind of scene that makes people believe the story is about to reset itself to 2015. But it also revealed the hard truth. A few splash moments can't recreate the baseline that made the entire system sustainable for years. This is the second mistake-to-fix lesson hiding inside the Cam Newton arc. The mistake is thinking the highlight version is the stable version. The fix is either evolving into a different archetype, quicker rhythm game, cleaner pocket mechanics, fewer collision-based runs, or accepting that the window for that playing style is shorter than fans want it to be. Cam Newton's legacy still lands on the right side of history even with the fall, because his peak forced the NFL to treat the quarterback run game like a real pillar instead of a novelty. In 2015, Carolina didn't win with quarterback scrambles. Carolina won with quarterback runs that were part of the math, part of the weekly plan, part of the way defenses had to fit gaps. That's why Newton's rushing touchdown resume mattered for so long. It wasn't trivia. It was proof that the most physically imposing quarterback of his era was also a consistent red zone finisher. And the last uncomfortable truth of the rise and fall is this: Newton didn't fall because the league solved him. The league didn't solve him. Time solved him. The NFL let defenders hit him like a runner, asked him to be the short yardage battering ram near the goal line, and celebrated the violence until the violence collected its debt. The rise was built on a body that could deliver punishment and absorb it. The fall began the moment the body couldn't pay the same price. That's why the Cam Newton story still matters. He wasn't a phase. He was a blueprint. Proof that a quarterback could be the offense's most dangerous runner and still threaten downfield. Proof that swagger and production could coexist. Proof that a team could ride that identity all the way to the sport's biggest stage. Then his career provided the warning label. When your advantage is physical dominance at quarterback, the window is real, and it closes faster than anyone wants to admit. The rise was a new species of quarterback entering the league and forcing defenses to rewrite what they considered safe. The fall was the bill coming due: injury, mechanics, and organizational resets colliding with a playstyle that demands a perfect body to stay superhuman. That arc is why Cam Newton is still one of the most important quarterbacks of his generation. Even in decline, the league copied the blueprint, but the league also learned the cost.